that collective energy, that just moving, that expressing something through music, sound, movement, and community. It's so healing. So, all right. Happy Sunday. We are somehow in the middle of April. I'm not sure, but excited about this month's theme, fertilizing our future. And what a ripe time it is to be planting new seeds, not only in our own mind, but new seeds for the collective, for a new vision of a world that works for all. And to remember that we all have the power. We have that power within us to create and affect the change and the possibility of the world we desire. So this week, we are invited to lift our gaze and open our hearts to what lies beyond our current paradigm. To imagine unlimited possibilities available to us when we move and stretch beyond the edges of what we think is possible, and especially what we think is comfortable. But it's not about striving or forcing or trying to control an outcome from, that ego part of our mind that wants to figure it all out and do it. There's a little more nuance to it, because it's really, we are being called to expand and to become something new. So this idea, of birthing the new earth, we have to become those beings that would thrive in this new earth. In a world where nature is honored, where all basic needs are met from humanity, where we see our oneness and our wholeness. And to participate in that co-creation, we must look at what is spirit guiding us towards, To tune in, tap in, to listen to that divine guidance within and allow spirit's highest idea for what's possible, not only in our own lives, but in our world, in our political systems, in our education system, in all of these things that we can talk about and look at and think, there must be another way, We listen and we ask those questions in order to stay curious and on the leading edge of who we are becoming and what is possible for this new earth. So the time is ripe, the soil is rich and ready for something new. We can see clearly now, and it's time to plant some new seeds with intention. I invite you just to take a moment and really map this onto your own life. Have you noticed in this time of renewal, of spring, a desire for something new to be expressed through you, as you, to be birthed, whether it be a creative expression, a project, an idea, or simply a new habit or practice? Are you giving yourself permission to dream? Dream a little bigger. And perhaps trust in the dream and trust in spirit a little deeper. So what I love about this teaching, Science of Mind, Centers for Spiritual Living, is that we are teaching practical spirituality. We come together as our mission states, which I know most of you on the regular aren't as familiar with the kind of back-end mission statement, but do know that as our core council every month we meet and we read this and we repeat this at the beginning of our meeting to really anchor us in what we are doing here. And one of those statements is to teach and practice the mystical and practical application of universal spiritual principle. So to teach and to practice, so it's not just coming and learning, but to practice it, the mystical and the practical. I love that, right? So the mystical, that which is hard to explain, right? Kind of beyond our 3D understanding of the way things work, right? That there's something greater working, that we can work in this invisible plane of consciousness and then see it revealed in the physical. Like, that's very mystical. To listen to spirit and to meditate and to commune with nature. Those are those mystical practices which open us up to the higher vibration of this possibility. And then the practical application of these spiritual principles is how we apply it in our daily lives and situations. How do we apply that in our relationships, in our finances, in our community, in our politics? How do we apply that in at our job or in our career, creative projects? How are we practically taking action steps to create this world that works for all? And the key is to align our daily actions with this grander vision for our lives, such that even the smallest steps become sacred. You know, that is something that I think it's mostly a Buddhist teaching, but the chop wood, carry water, right? The idea of the smallest, simplest action being sacred. And when we can shift our awareness to that, what it does is it allows us to be in that mystical space through all that we do without seeing some things as resistant to chores. I don't want to do this, I want to do that. But everything that we do in this human world as human beings, even changing the toilet paper, washing our dishes and laundry, those habits of cleaning or commuting here and there, running errands, all those things that we may see as like just kind of these things over here that we have to do, but this is really our life. At some point we start to realize that this is all our life. And instead of saying and resisting those mundane things, tasks, actions, whatnot, what if we were to embrace the sacred in it all? And that is how we practice the spirituality in everyday moments. And that's truly the kind of test of spiritual fortitude, right? If you can, it doesn't mean deny or bypass if you're like, right? You can have your feelings. You can say, oh, that's gross. I really don't want to clean this right now. And then breathe and say, and how can you shift your perspective in some way? I'm so grateful that I have these pets that I love that I get to clean up after, right? We have to switch our minds to trick it sometimes. But instead of being in resistance to some part of our lives, I don't know, y'all, this is just coming up, this idea of this theme of don't resist the poop. Don't resist it. It's compost. I know I said it before, but it's like, you know, those things that we think are so gross. It's all part of the cycle. There's that kid's book, right? Everybody poops. I didn't expect to be talking about this today, but sometimes things just come through. But I think it's a good example that we would say, that's gross or bad, don't talk about that, I don't want to do that, but we all do it. And it's healthy, actually. And so I'm not saying that you should start talking about your poop and, you know, every day bringing it up at the lunch table. But how can we embrace the sacred in every moment of our life? And to be willing to shift that perspective and to find moments of gratitude. Because what that does is it builds that strength and that spiritual resilience so that we can be rooted so deeply and anchored in this consciousness of oneness and love and acceptance of all, that when something other or unlike what we would desire to experience shows up in our life, we are so fully grounded, just like that tree with the deep roots nourished by the soil can flow with the breeze and not break. And just like that tree so deeply rooted, its branches reach high so that it can experience a bigger vision, looking beyond the horizon and not always staying stuck down as the tiny seedling or sapling. This keeps falling asleep on me, y'all. Wake up. So the goal is to remain conscious and aware and embrace all activities of our daily life and remain open to the guidance along the path. To notice when we start to let those fears or doubts, those limiting beliefs come in so that we can see more clearly. And that is the power of our spiritual practice and understanding. And it is the gift of this particular practice called visioning. So visioning isn't goal setting. It isn't picturing what you desire. That's visualization, right? It's another technique. It's another practice. And it's so good that we have a multitude of spiritual practices in our spiritual toolbox, because different points of life and times of the day require different practices. So the one we're going to focus on today is visioning. This practice of asking and listening and allowing. Asking Spirit, what is the highest vision for my life? What is the highest vision for Ahava Center for Spiritual Living? What is the highest vision for my family, for my career, for my finances, for my relationship, for my health, for my community? What is the highest vision? You can apply this technique, this practice, to all areas of your life and to any project or group or community that you belong in as well. We teach a visiting course about once a year or two, and there have been students from that who have taken it into the workplace, that are leading meetings and teams that are like, we're going to start with this practice. And you can do it in a way that's not religious or overly spiritual, right? Just asking for guidance from your intuition, from your inner guide. So the bigger practice of visioning, right, is like getting into that meditative state and asking a series of questions. Often we do it in a group, which really creates that synergy, and to kind of hear the ideas that are coming through to see what has most resonance. But you can also live in the practice of visioning by embracing curiosity in moments of frustration or blocks or obstacles that come up, fear, doubt, and to ask, okay, Spirit, what is seeking to be known now, right? Like, when something feels uncomfortable, it's often because we need to stretch or grow or change in some way to embody something new. So it's like, what is seeking to be known? What is seeking to be expressed through me now? What qualities do I desire to embody more fully, right? What is the highest vision for this? And what must I become, and what must I release in order to allow that vision to be fully formed? We remain curious and open to the wonder and the awe all around us. When we ask these questions, we begin to see things that were there, but out of our awareness, right? We start to see possibilities, new ideas. We experience something. We meet someone, those what we may call synchronicities, coincidences, those moments. Pay attention to those things that are showing up that catch your attention. Like, I keep hearing this word or seeing this number or this image, right? And then take that into your own contemplation and ask Spirit, what is, excuse me, what is seeking to be known? What is for me to know? Yes, I would love a sip of my water. Thank you. And then this requires us letting go of, well, this is how it's always been done, right? In anything in our life, anything. To be open to a new possibility, to a new vision. When we start to get curious and question and live in that state of curiosity and wonder and awe, we can begin to break down the structures that may seem invisible around us, but are holding up certain things in our society, right? And we start to ask things like, well, why? Or, you know, but and not just like a 5-year-old, why is the sky blue? But like, as a society, why do we do this? And how, you know, what is that? And could there be another way, right? Just staying open and curious. And the balance there is not to get stuck in just the big, grand vision and the fantasy of it. Because we, I see this tendency, and I've experienced it myself, to get that hit of the idea, be in the spiritual practice and feel the love and the goodness, but then taking the action over a course of time is where the real work begins. It's that daily practice of becoming the vision. Aligning our daily actions, our words, our thoughts with this big vision requires the mindfulness and intentionality. It involves being present in each moment so that life isn't happening to us as we absentmindedly move through the day. And making choices that then reflect our highest aspirations, that are in alignment with our values and our desires and this big vision for our life and the world that we want to create. We all have somewhere we can start. Like that reading called us out about clutter, right? Maybe it's just starting with that one drawer. Being open, being intentional, and spending some time clearing out the clutter. You never know how much of a practice that could be when you really start to look, why am I holding on to this? Oh, I'm afraid, da-da-da-da. Or, oh, the memories of this person, or da-da-da. You know, not that any of that's bad or wrong, just get curious with yourself so you know. So you're intentional, and then decide, yeah, this is important. I'm going to keep this here. Or maybe this has been hidden in a drawer and I forgot about it. I'm going to put it out here and let it be a reminder. The practice requires cultivating discipline and a commitment to prioritize that long-term vision, those dreams and desires, over the immediate gratification of the moment, right? So I just invite you now to take a moment again and kind of just turn within and reflect on your own current kind of actions, patterns, your daily habits, and just kind of notice, like what's your morning look like? Is it different every day? Do you have a routine? Is there certain things that if you were kind of having a camera on your day following you around that you do that perhaps you've forgotten that you do, you just do out of habit? And now add a layer to this observation and reflection and see, are these daily actions and habits and patterns moving you closer to your dreams and your desires and to your values? Or are they distractions that are diverting you from your path? And maybe you can identify one or two things to shift. So by consistently aligning our intentions and our actions with our long-term goals, we lay that foundation to forge a new path for a future that is in harmony with our deepest desires. So I'm going to give you a few steps as we wrap up here to, again, make this practical and tangible to take home as a practice this week. So the first is aligning your daily actions with that divine vision. What is one small thing that you can do today that's in harmony with your highest calling? Maybe it's a phone call, a walk, a moment of stillness. Whatever it is, do it with intention. Like, pick a day, today, tomorrow, I'm going to go for a walk. And then allow that to be a building block for your greater becoming. So, align your action with your vision. Number 2, when you start this path, you will notice that things are going to come up, that inner voice that's going to tell you, well, I don't really have to, or does it really matter, or it's okay, or, well, I'm not really made like that, or I'm not good at this, whatever that may be. So pause and notice and release those limiting beliefs, those thoughts, what are those stories that you're telling yourself that don't serve you into the becoming of this vision. Be gentle with yourself. Be graceful. It's not about beating yourself up. It's just about noticing and loving yourself. And then being willing, asking that inner part of you, saying, I noticed that pattern. There's that habit again. Am I willing to let it go? And take a step in that direction. So we're releasing our limiting beliefs, and then we are practicing visioning as an ongoing practice, right? Finding stillness, breath, and asking, what's the highest vision for my life? What must I embrace? What must I do, be, or become to live this vision? And what must I release? So listen deeply, trust that insight that comes as you stay in that inquisitive state of visioning. Take an action, be mindful and release any doubts, then vision again, take an action, right? It's kind of a cyclical practice like we've been talking about. Yes, and earlier this year, we had a snow-in service on Zoom, and I led us in a practice of visioning. I'm going to share that recording again, where I guide the practice and ask, what's the highest vision for my life in 2025? Because we are entering the second quarter of 2025, so it's a good time, right, to do that again. So I will send that out in this week's e-news and post on a few places, so you can use that as a guide if you would like to practice visioning more on your own. And let's support each other, yes? Let's encourage each other. Let's be in conversation about our dreams and big desires and what's becoming and what's coming to us. Even if it seems like this wild thing, at some point, any idea, any change in society, in our life, looked like this wild idea until where we are and where it is, those steps got closer through action and practice. Yes? Yes. So together we are shaping our collective future, rooted in love, guided by wisdom, and inspired by infinite possibility. So let's dream it, let's vision it, let's live it, day by day, moment by moment. Yes? Okay, let's put it into prayer. I invite you to take a nice deep breath. I'm taking this moment just to anchor in to the awareness of the one life that is love. To bring to the forefront of your consciousness this energy, vibration, feeling tone of wholeness, of love, of peace. Knowing that this is the truth of the one life. And this one life is expressing as the many. This one life is the very energy and essence back of all things. And therefore, it is the very essence and truth of each and every one of us. So I speak this word now from this place of oneness, claiming and declaring wholeness revealed for each and every being on this planet. May we know and remember our true essence, the wisdom of our spirit and the wisdom of our body temple. May we nourish and honor our physical being with these healthy habits and conscious choices that allow this body temple to hold the highest vibration of our spiritual nature. And to know that love is the healer. Love is that force that attracts, that comforts, that holds, that heals, and that transforms. As we consciously choose to walk this path, to see beyond the horizon of our current paradigms and structures and possibilities, to become something greater, so that we may step into the fullness of our power and potential in this life, right here, right now. For we are all called for such a time as this, because we are here. And I know that we are not alone. We can never be alone. For we are one with the infinite. And this infinite intelligence lives and breathes each and every one of us. So I'm so grateful to claim peace and wholeness and love right here, right now. To know that Spirit is guiding our path as we open up to this new vision for our lives and for our world. One of wholeness, one of kindness and love and equity and peace and unity. So I'm so grateful to speak this word and to know that it is so. As I release it and let it be so. And together we claim it by saying, and so it is. Yes.